Soundcheck.network, the new online magazine.
And the whole venue, the whole venue itself was like, it reminded me of like, I don't know, Freddie Mercury or a 70s concert or Woodstock. It reminded me of just like looking at the crowd from the stage to the crowd. And I don't know, the heat didn't really bother us. I guess the adrenaline, you're not thinking about the heat. Well, I don't know if the crowd was because they were there for a long time sitting out in the sun.
It bothered us off the stage, the heat.
Yeah.
We got to Athens a day early and it was hot. It was like grueling hot. But on stage, I guess like Delila said, the adrenaline was pumping, so you don't really think about the heat. But you said a comment when you went out to the crowd. You said it was like a furnace or something. What did you say?
Yeah, it did. When I stepped out and went down into the crowd, it was like a hot, I guess from all the body heat mixed with the heat of in the sun. Oh man, I never felt anything like that. It was like hotter than a sauna. I was like, man, these people's like body heat is just like, it's push. You felt it push. It was almost like a thickness.
And you felt it more intense because you became a part of the crowd at the end of the show. How was that?
Like maybe we were all like hallucinating at one point. I don't know.
Did it just happen, or you want to go near the crowd and be a part of them? Has it happened again?
Yeah, I mean, I think almost every show has to be crowd interaction. Either the crowd comes on stage, which I wanted to happen at the end of the set, or we go out to them. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
I don't think there should be stages anymore. That we should develop something new. Experience.
All is one.
Great idea. Great idea.
It's nothing's like, we want every show to be different, you know. So we want it to be a certain level of spontaneity, and Delila's certainly spontaneous. And as a band, we are too with our playing. Sometimes we extend verses or choruses. We know to be on high alert and just follow Delila. If she wants to extend a verse, we do. If the chorus should go longer, we just follow her. If she wants to jump into the crowd, we know to keep playing longer. And there's a lot of improvisation. The challenge for us is doing it within a very strict 40 or 45 minutes. I think it was 40 minutes, right? Within a 40-minute set, you can't even go a minute over. So we got to be cautious of being too in the moment.
And I had no idea what time it was, if we ended early or late. So I don't know how bands do it. Do they have like a clock and someone's like talking to them?
We happen to always know. It's weird because we don't look at we're not conscious of the time.
Yeah.
Internally, we kind of know this is it. Get off the stage, like, and we're never late. If anything, maybe we're over by a minute or so, but it's usually on time.
Mm-hmm. My sense is that I've heard some of your stuff, and I believe that you have some passionate studio recordings. But my sense is that you were born for the stage. Your performance showed me that. Do you agree? Am I near your?
There's nothing like the stage. I don't know, because it's cool to like experiment in the studio. You can add extra instruments. And that's like a different feeling, but the stage and like, I don't know. Because you're playing the same song over and over again each show, but it doesn't feel like it's the same song. It's just like, it feels like it's fresh and new every time.
Yeah,
so
you can jam in the studio and have fun, but I saw Edgey was giving it everything there on stage. You as well. I believe you're a great performer, so it was really intense from my side.
I love I love live recordings of even my favorite bands, and I prefer live recordings as long as the recording is decent. I prefer it over the studio records. That's why I love a lot of like Jimi Hendrix live stuff, or because it's different. It always sounds different. The songs are played in different tempos, so it was much more free back then. Whereas today, people have, a lot of bands use click tracks and everything's lined up with backing tracks and the show's the same every single time. In that respect, no, I probably prefer the studio tracks. I don't need to hear a worse version of the song live because it's the same exact arrangement, same everything, same singing as the record. What I like what Delila does is she's always adding things and adding layers to each song. So one of our songs, for example, Wanted Man, which we played at the festival, she added a new intro, which isn't on the record. Then she adds a new vocal melody at the end. She does that with almost every song. She adds new vocal melodies, and the parts start to change, the solos change. Soul on Fire on the record doesn't have a solo. Live, it has like a 3-minute solo while she's singing, and it's different every single time. So for us, we want to record this stuff. We want to record our live shows. It's a matter of getting the right person to capture it, which we kind of did. So there might be a live record coming out soon. We sent tracks to the studio, so they're currently mixing a compilation of our live shows from the past like 2 years or so.
Great news. You said Jimi Hendrix, and I would say that your music travels us in other decades for sure. Which would be an ideal decade if you could turn back time to live in?
We agree. The downside of live recordings is that, for example, we did a cool version of one of our songs called 1984 in Paris, and we were recording it, and I popped a string right in the middle of the solo. And it's a strat with the floating bridge. So if one string breaks, the whole guitar goes immediately out of tune. It just sounded horrible for those 2 seconds. I'm like, what happened? I looked down at my guitar, I popped the string. If you're in at the show in the venue, it's cool. But if you're only hearing it, you're like, what the fuck happens to the guitar player? It's like, I don't know how to switch guitar, so there's no guitar for like 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Guitar's back on, and now then you hear the crowd scream. And if you're not watching the show and you're hearing it, you're left to wonder, like, what the hell just happened? It's like, that's the downside of live recordings.
Yes.
But
Yes.
what about that? Were you asking what decade? Is
Yes,
our favorite?
I said that talking about Jimi Hendrix and your music as well took me back in some decades back, and I think you reminiscence for some decades in the past. Where would be ideal for you to live there in another decade if you could turn back time?
You could turn back time. I don't know. I don't believe in time, like Prince.
Oh, okay.
But I think there's something special about that Woodstock era, like in the freeness of it. I mean, we want to bring that back. Like that's like the whole goal is to bring that, but to do it in a way that's not copying or like loving that era so much that we're just like living in that era, because we're in our time right now and we have to live like in this time. Like, so how do you bring that feeling of Woodstock? Because it's something special about it. We always talk about it. We always think,
Yes, and you did.
so great about Woodstock. Like, why can't we have that now? Like, we can't. Like, if we let ourselves go and like, I don't know, just experience the moment and talk about the like things that matter, socially conscious things need to be in our vocabulary, needs to be like in the music and come out. So,
So we're far away from the 70s, you're saying, 60s.
But it's possible to bring that again, that energy can be again in music. So
it's funny because we just had that discussion just like 2 days ago. Like, I think the drummer said, man, I wish I could just go back and live in the 70s. We were inclined to agree right away. I'm like, well, hold up a second. I was like, what was it like for a Black musician touring the South of the United States in the 70s? Maybe we don't want to go back.
Yes,
Maybe we romanticize the 70s too much. And the reason why there was so much politics in rock music was because there was so much oppression. Not that it doesn't exist today. Trust me, there's plenty of oppression today. But I think what Delila wants to bring back is that feeling of solidarity, you know, that was present in the population. They forced the rock bands to be political. You had almost no choice to be political because they kept getting pressure from the fans and from the public. That sentiment of solidarity doesn't exist today, and it's for a reason. They made the powers that be, the ruling class, made sure to divide us as much as they could since the 70s.
Yeah, understood. How did the support concert to Guns N' Roses come up, and how did you live? How did you experience them in the same states?
Well, I don't know. How did we get I don't know how we got the gig exactly. We have a really good agent that believes in us, and he's their agent. He does a lot of the huge Um,
So you're still wondering how you got the
older
gig?
rock. So I guess maybe he put our name like, oh, okay. His name's Rod McSween, and he's really believes in us. We don't have a manager or a label,
Yeah,
Yeah, you
so
said that. You said that.
it's
I
like
remember.
a small group that like
yeah.
that believes in us and the fans, the people. But man, I mean, the songs, like going into a show like that, because you know that the audience, like the songs probably were like ingrained in them, like all the songs from Guns N' Roses, they know it's in their heart. You know, they're gonna be singing like all the songs, like I know their songs, and like it has like a place in our hearts too, you know, because we grew up and we listened to them. There's something, I don't know, the feeling of, I think that's another reason why we go on stage and we're like, have to connect with these people, because they're there to listen to someone else. They're not there to listen to you. So let's give them experience. Like, you don't know me. So let's do an experience of it.
Okay, I know you're from New York, and you said in the concert as well that you don't have a label, you don't have any manager, and that's very interesting. The other members are constant members of the band, because the other two.
No, we've been it's Delila and I,
Mhm.
and we've been hiring musicians throughout the years. It's now that we found a group of people that we feel comfortable with, because we feel a camaraderie with, like musicians that really are in it. They're in the moment and in the zone with us. Like they're not elsewhere. They don't consider themselves hired guns or whatever. It's kind of like a family situation, if you will. Like we're best friends and we're family. So it's deeper than a band. Anybody can join a band or be in a band. That's easy, you know, like starting a band is easy. The band sounds good. That's the hard part, because it takes so much work and so much practice and dedication, and the psychology of it. Everybody has to be on the same wavelength, the same page. It's the same thing as like a sports team or whatever. Like psychologically, everybody must be intertwined and have the same vision and the same mindset and the same goal. If one person doesn't, it'll destroy the entire thing. And for us, that was the hardest thing for us to find. People with the same mindset and the same vision and the willingness and the drive to do it. You know, once you find that, that's the hard part. You got it. The music will flow, you know, everything else will come. Like any obstacles, there'll be small hurdles, you just jump right over them. Cancel flights, no problem. Rent a van. There's no vans. I'll walk to the gig. I don't care. I'll do whatever I have to do to make the show. If you have people in that mentality, it's a military unit. You know, for us, that's what's important.
Yeah. The show and the working, like we want to all work and get better as a band. Like after the show, we're always like, we're not like celebrating like, that was so awesome. But we
Kinda
do that. Yeah, we do that,
bit.
but it's not like just that. We're like, okay, so what went wrong? What can we do better for the next?
We're very hard on ourselves.
Yeah, I guess that's the New York attitude.
A New York
Like,
attitude.
You don't get too comfortable.
Yes. You have a new album out, your third one, Running with the Dream, and I saw that the artwork is yours, Delila, as well.
Yeah, Edgey bought me an iPad with an Apple Pen for Christmas last year, and we needed the album art. No, I had a big drawing tablet, which I started doing art on. And then when he bought me that, it's portable. So, oh man, I was like on it for like weeks, just like every day. I was like for hours and hours.
Parts of it were torture. Even for me watching it, I was like, oh my God.
I was like, don't talk to me. I'm drawing these.
It's like, and then when she thought she was done, I always said, no, you're not done yet. She goes, what do you mean I'm not done? Like, you still have some space to fill over here, or or you didn't, or would be like, what else didn't you include on this cover that,
show it. Well,
like what modern issue or something that you didn't cover that's not on the album cover? And so we're like, I don't know, like, so
there is still some sky. I should make a new one with like, so that's it. Is this gonna be video? You can see
very
it.
Nice. Yeah, I know. I saw it. It's very nice for my taste.
The idea, a vibe and idea from like Diego Rivera's Man at the Crossroads, because it's a mural and it's kind of like like that, almost like a dragonfly, but it's a political painting, and he has like pieces, like every section something else. It's surrealism. So we got the
Tell me a few
idea.
things about this new album, a few thoughts of yours, and also about the collaboration with the human drum machine, as I say, Casagrande, Eloy Casagrande from Sepultura.
Yeah. I never get tired of looking at this though. I could look at it for hours. It's crazy.
It's really
Yeah,
nice, really,
we
really
had
nice.
Yeah. Joey Castillo,
Joey Castillo
too.
too. Played with Queens of the Stone Age
Mhm.
on the album, so we had
Yeah.
cool drummers.
Yeah. Eloy did a tour with us too, right as we were recording the record. So that we'd be more connected when we made the record. And it was actually, we were very happy with the results. Working with him in the studio was very quick, actually. You know, it was he's very open to any of our ideas, any ideas he had. There was no ego, so we were all just, the ideas were just free flowing, you know. And there were some things that came out one take, and there were other songs that we worked to death. Like we changed drum beats like 30 times, or the drum fill was never right, so we had to go back into the studio, make sure we had the right drum fill. Then I was programming drums at one point. I had programmed drums for an entire song. Then we had to recut the entire drums because there was new programmed drums, but I wanted a real person playing it. So Elo had to replay it, and it was crazy. Because COVID, like everyone's, you know what I mean? COVID split everybody up, couldn't rent the studio, everything shut down. It was.
I did part of the vocals in the closet. And you can't even tell really what the really good studio and the closet vocals are. So I don't know.
I can't tell the difference because some were in the closet, some were in my mother's attic in New York. Some of them were in your mother's upstairs for whatever. Some were in this living room that you see right here.
Oh, Hero! I think I did.
They're all over the place.
We have a song called Hero, which
some were at a friend's house. We're at a friend's house. We connected the mic and we just started singing.
Yes.
And then some of the vocals were at
a lot of different energy.
Makeshift studio near the beach and during lockdown. The house.
So how does this thing without managers, no label work? Is it, of course, it's an obvious choice of yours. Someone can find your work only from your ESOP, I believe, right?
Someone
can find your work, your albums only from your ESOP, electronic shop.
Well, we're on like all like the digital platforms, but right now it's not it's only distributed through our store, which we mail out ourselves also. So it's very like do it yourself. We have like a US store that my mom runs actually, if you want to get real true.
Great.
We run the Europe and rest of the world.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of trouble actually sending stuff from Portugal. Like Greece is okay, but anything in the union, but anything like outside of the union, it takes forever to get there.
Sometimes there's delays. I mean, it gets there, it depends.
Yeah.
Like to the UK because of like the whole Brexit thing.
Yeah, the Brexit thing, yeah. So you are
post office every weekday. Like Monday, we'll be at the post office. Even on tour, we're stopping.
Yeah, because we had the pre-order of the album. It was delayed, the vinyl getting to us. So we didn't have time to mail everything out. There was like a few hundred orders. So we had to do it while we were on tour in Europe. So after every show, we're like packing packages in the hotel lobbies. And then in Poland, we mailed out 100 packages, and it took us 4 hours after the show. We were at the post office for like 4.
Till like 3 in the morning or something.
When do you rest? When do you rest?
We did. We went a little crazy, I think.
Yeah, we got sick too on that tour. And we played sick. I felt like I was dying.
Yeah, it was a little maybe too much. Because a DIY thing it's very liberating and exciting, but it's also like if you gotta like manage yourself. So a musician's brain, most of us don't have like the organized part. So it's like trying to work on that part.
Yeah, but that's not true. We have the organized part.
I don't have.
You kind of do.
Do I? Okay.
Yeah, you do, and I certainly do. You do. The problem is, like we consider ourselves functional musicians. kind of like Springsteen. He's not dysfunctional. I'm sure he can make his own breakfast. A lot of musicians probably don't have like, not a lot of rock stars need someone to feed them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, we don't have that. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we don't have that problem. We run our own web store. We run our own website. We shoot our own music videos. We edit our own music videos. We market and promote our own stuff with the very little money we have. So, you know, that's why the merch store is so important. Any profits or anything we make from it goes, everything from merch store goes right back in. So it goes back into making more merch, this and that. We make our own t-shirts. I made this one I'm wearing right now. We make our own handmade t-shirts for the merch store. And we go to the post office and we mail it out. And what's frustrating is at the post office when we're on tour in Europe, they don't know how to, they can't figure out how to mail out a package. The musicians did all this work, did all this stuff. We produced our own record. We did all this shit. Like I could keep listening to things that we do DIY because we can't rely on other people. And then when we go to the post office, all you gotta do is get this thing right here from point A to point B. They can't figure that out. And it's the most frustrating thing ever.
Because there's so much bureaucracy.
There's bureaucracy. They'll be like, remember in Belgium, they're like, okay, go take your 3 bags of packages, go to that computer that's been sitting in that room since 1983 and type in each person's address, everything, type in your address, and typing one person's address takes like a half hour because it's like the old touchscreen system and nothing works, you know what I'm saying? It'll take you literally 3 months to mail out those 3 bags of packages. So we couldn't mail out our packages. They go back into the van. We go to the next country. There's another excuse as to why they can't mail it or some outdated system. Packages go back into the van. The orders are growing. Now we have a van with more packages, more online orders than we do equipment and guitars for the tour. It was a total disaster. It was like, but we managed to get through it. I think that's a high level of organization on our part.
First thought that comes to mind now that you're saying all this stuff you're doing your own is what had happened, you know, with Napster and Lars Ulrich of Metallica many years ago, who was back then blamed. And I believe that Metallica don't really need the money from the LPs or back then, of course now. And for smaller, in quotes, bands, this is crucial for this great amount of work produced by you in all this, with all these ways and everything, to go to the customer and to the audience and get that physical copy, because now we have all the streams and it's different to have this copy. This is a masterpiece for me, from the artwork, from the music, everything that I've heard.
Oh,
Thanks.
I think like getting like a record, physical record is like a special thing. I mean, I do also listen to a lot of digital music too, because it is easier. It's like just there.
You're at the gym.
But I love getting a vinyl like in your hand, especially it's big. You see the artwork.
For me, the most important thing, other than the actual sound that we record, is the artwork. It's kind of like, you don't have to sell this. The artwork to me sells itself if someone looks at it and if they know the singer drew this, because you could pay someone $1,000, $10,000, $1 million to do the album cover. But for me, it wouldn't have the same sentimental value as if Delila did it. And the way and the style she did it, she's never done it before, ever. This is her first time trying to draw on a pad, and she's not even, she never draws. Like, it's just recently she picked it up because she couldn't find a graphic artist to do the job.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like.
But I love learning new things. Like, I always liked art, but never really did it. But it was a learning experience.
But you're saying you weren't organized. Like, it's organization.
It's excellent for the first time. It's an excellent piece of work. Another obvious. Yes, tell me.
No, go.
Another obvious choice for you, I believe, is having lyrics that have to do with political and social issues, right?
Yeah, I mean, we started the band. We're not like it was just we didn't really have to talk about like we're gonna write a song about this. It was just what happened. I don't know. We were at that time when we started. We were like always protesting. We were singing folk political folk songs. So that's how the band started. And even the name of the band, LAST INTERNATIONALE, it's like about workers. It's about like the working class and the people that we have to always have that in our songs. It has to be about like working class struggles. There's always, when we see what's happening to refugees or on the border in the US, like these are things that like upset us. So of course we're gonna put it into our music. And it doesn't seem like there's in the whole rock genre, it's not a thing that's like present that much like it was in the 60s. Like, I mean, you have songs like Fortunate Son. I mean, there's so many songs.
That's a good song.
I don't know. Like, I feel like there should be more songs written like that, like socially conscious. It doesn't have to be political or, you know, have a label to it, but it's just there. Like, we're all.
But the reason why I think it's present in our band is I think the reason why we connect is because we were already socially conscious and political and going to protests and all the stuff she mentioned. But Delila is, I think she has a different background than a lot of rock singers. Not all, but a lot. Like, rock is overwhelmingly, I think, white and middle class. You know what I'm saying? And that might have something to do with why rock is lacking the elements it had in the 60s and 70s as far as being socially conscious or whatever, you know? Like when we had even like the Rolling Stones or bands back then, literally they grew up in rubble. Their cities were just recently bombed. After World War II, these kids they grew up in poverty, whatever. Now it's rock is reflecting middle class and capitalist values. Whereas Delila had different upbringing. Like the way kids are raised today is not the way she was raised. And I don't know if you want to say anything about your personal life, but like you pretty much were raised in a bar, you know what I'm saying? You met different working class people. You were hanging out with fucking drag queens when you were like 5 or 6 or 8 years old, whatever age you were. You were Puerto Rican, you know what I mean? So you already knew about the struggle for Puerto Rican independence. Like the average kid doesn't have those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
You were hardcore.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to say.
So that came from
This is
inside.
I think it's a telling a story. Like,
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I always claim.
She never likes talking about herself. But if I were like if I went to the Guns N' Roses show and I saw a band, like, oh cool, this cool band, whatever, and I started following them and I wanted to get into this band, what would make me really get into the lyrics and what they are as a band? I'd want to know something about the singer. Like for me,
well, I definitely didn't
watching the interview, I'd want to know something about the singer.
We grew up struggling, but a lot of people did. But I do think a lot of bands that are big now. I mean, it's not that many bands that are new and big.
Forget about the bands, we're talking about you.
But I feel like they grew up.
They know about them bands. They know all about Foo Fighters. They know the whole history. They don't know who Delila Paz is.
All right, next interview.
No,
because then you have to go. Anyway,
So you believe in the power of music, passing messages to the people, of course.
It wasn't a constant choice for her.
And because you have some lyrics about freedom and maybe freedom. I don't know nowadays what freedom could be, because as you very to the point have said or implied, was freedom from technology in a way in your lyric video that someone can see. Can music overcome all this and the messages through music and lead us to a more free world?
I think so. I think it can. After the show, after the show in Greece, we're getting messages from people like even like the song Soul on Fire, like different songs I think connect in different ways to people. I think Soul on Fire was a song like we got a bunch of messages from people like young to all different ages, saying they connected to it in like this way, like, oh man, you made me feel something I didn't feel before, or like one girl's like doing, or so I don't know, and maybe she took something I said, which I didn't even realize it just came out, something about like do whatever the fuck you want to do, but don't hurt each other, or something like that. And she's like, yeah, now I feel like I'm free, like I want to be free to do what I want to do. I don't know what that means to her, but freedom could also change in your head, like what freedom means.
Yeah.
So we're keeping it open, like in a way, like we don't want to tell people how to think. You know, there's too much of that anyway. That's what you to us. Like, tell you.
You also said in your songs not to be divided, which is very important. People not being divided.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, freedom is a thing that is also often spoken about in the abstract. We're kind of doing it to a certain extent here, but I think the reason why these elements keep coming up in our song is because, again, I hate to bring it back to Delila, she's never experienced freedom, like true freedom.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
You're downplaying it. Like she had to, anybody, when you're done with the interview, Google Morrisania Bronx, okay? Just Google it, all right? Look at the history of Morrisania Bronx. It's one of the worst places in New York. Like, you know what I mean? Anybody born in Morrisania, the Bronx, and had any part of their childhood there, their sense of freedom is different than somebody who's born and raised in the Hollywood Hills or whatever. The word freedom is relative. You know what I mean? So the word means something different for everybody. But when you say it in the abstract, we all yearn for it. It's human nature to be free. So an entire group of people can get behind that rallying call, especially when now we have all these governments being more tyrannical, more oppressive, and they're taking all of our freedoms away. That's the freedom that Delila was talking about. But the freedom that Delila experienced as a kid was eating a Ralph's Italian Ices in front of fucking the pizzeria or something. That's freedom. You know what I'm saying? Like, you give them your 75 cents, you get your Italian ice, holy shit. Like, but where is the freedom to create, the freedom to have a life without the threat of violence? So, like, where's the freedom of not having to be in poverty, or the freedom of poverty always being a threat in one's life? And freedom just means, what is freedom to I don't know, let's say Julian Assange? He has a different concept of freedom right now here. And so I think Delila has never-ending empathy for all these people, because she knows, and I know, that we are also blessed and we have a greater amount of freedom than, say, somebody who, like the average person in Haiti. You know what I'm saying? We're not victims in the sense, oh my God, we're crying, look at me. We have enough freedom to make music and tour the world. We're blessed. We're doing what we love to do. So we're using that responsibility to speak up for the Haitian immigrant or whatever, or Leonard Peltier, who's behind bars, and they rely on the arts and musicians and everybody to get the message out and fight for their freedoms, and we don't do it. You know what I'm saying? That empathy that Delila feels is not an abstract thing. It's grounded within her background. And
so maybe rock music needs more empathy.
No, it needs more Puerto Ricans and females. That's what it needs. It's like, you want to say rock? I said this many times. You give instruments to inner city kids. You go to Morrisania, the Bronx. You go to Brooklyn. You go to these places. You give these kids instruments. They already have the fire in them and everything to change an art form, because they're doing it with hip hop. Give them instruments. Teach them the blues or whatever, or get them access to local blues musicians in their area where they can teach them the music, and you'll see rock flourish.
Unfortunately, way too unfortunately, we have just 1 minute because this meeting closes. So if you would like a message to the Greek fans of yours, and just please.
Well, we love you. I mean, we loved going to Greece, and we're planning on coming back already. So we'll hope to see you. We'll see you again.
We'll be there next week.
We hope to see you again for sure. And it's not only me speaking. Thank you very much for your time. I wish you all the best, and I hope we will meet again in the future.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely
us
in
too.
person. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you too. Bye.
Thank you.
See you.